Hey everybody, Blake from CommonSenseWallet.com here again, and today we were talking about how much car can you afford. When I worked as a loan officer, this is one of the biggest mistakes I saw, is that people buy way more car than they can actually afford. And there are many different reasons why this happens, but what is more important is that you make sure you avoid doing this. If you end up getting more car than you can handle, it can turn your dream car into a nightmare, and I promise you I have seen that dozens of times when I worked as a loan officer. It happens to a lot of people. So the first thing you're going to have to figure out here is how are you going to be purchasing the car, and this is going to help you kind of figure out how you are going to how much car you can actually afford, because different purchasing options offer different things. So the three main ways you can purchase a car are to finance it, which is probably the most common. You can lease the car, or you can just go ahead and buy that car outright. So you probably know what financing is. This is probably the most common way to purchase a car. When financing a vehicle, you get a loan on it through either the dealership or a financial institution. You would then make monthly payments with interest until you pay off that vehicle. A lease, this is a contract between you and the dealership that usually lasts between 1 and 3 years. During a lease, you do not actually own the vehicle. At the end of the term, you can either turn the car back in or you can decide to purchase it. The benefit of a lease is that your monthly payments are lower than a regular loan. The downside is that you will pay more in the long run because of fees and lack of ownership in the vehicle. And then the third option is buy outright. This is where you pay the full price of the car the day you get it. There's no financing, no loans. As soon as you leave with the vehicle, it is 100% yours. This is definitely the cheapest option over the long run, but I understand everybody doesn't do that. And if I could recommend one, I would say buy the car outright. Gives you the most control, saves you the most money. But, like I said, I do understand that not everybody can purchase a car outright because they are kind of expensive, so depending on what car you buy. And so the biggest thing is to compare your salary to the overall cost of the car. A lot of dealers will try to get you to focus on the monthly payment, and that is because it can sound more reasonable to say, hey, you're going to be paying $300 a month for a car rather than saying you are taking on a $16,000 responsibility. This can start to seem really crazy once you look at your yearly income compared to the overall cost of the car. If your yearly salary is roughly $30,000, you do not want to be purchasing a vehicle that is over half of that yearly income. I mean, just think about it. It would take you 6 months or more of working to actually pay for the price of that vehicle. Like that really should put some perspective into it. Instead, I would look at purchasing a vehicle that is 25% or less of your yearly income. So if you make $30,000 in a year, you should look at spending no more than $7,500. And that sounds a lot more reasonable. And I think a lot of you will probably think, okay, yeah, that does. It doesn't feel like I'm working my whole life away to pay for a car, essentially. Okay, and the question a lot of people have is, what should my monthly car payments be? You want a low car payment, so if you do decide to go with financing, then making sure that you have the right monthly payment is important. Your monthly payment is determined by the interest rate and term of your loan. The better your credit score, the better the interest rate that you can get. The longer the term, the lower the monthly payment is. So, just a little background on how a monthly payment kind of works. So, the higher your credit score, the easier it is going to be to get a lower payment, essentially. But believe it or not, lower payment isn't what we're going for here. My recommendation is that you try to keep your monthly payment at 15% of your monthly take-home pay. And I'm not saying keep it 15% or less. I'm saying keep it at 15%. If you go higher than 15%, you can risk overwhelming yourself. But if you go lower than 15%, you won't be paying off your loan as quickly as you should. Taking too long to pay off the loan could result in you having an upside-down car loan. I would also recommend that you pay down more than your loan payment each month if you can. This will allow you to get out of debt faster and pay less in interest. Now, a caveat to this is that you could, if you really, really feel like you don't want to make your payment that high because you're scared like maybe something will happen, or maybe, what if something happens and I need that money, which can get you into a bad situation, that thinking in general. But what I'm really getting at here is that you could do it at less than 15% if you can get it there, and then just bring it up to 15% every month if you feel like you trust yourself to do that and everything. For sure, that's a good option. But like I said, I would recommend paying off this car as quickly as possible. Then in this article, in the description below, I will provide a link to this article. I do have a loan calculator over here. It shows you kind of like what you can kind of fill out what you're generally looking for. It'll give you like when you're going to pay it off and general schedule for what kind of interest you're going to pay, just to give you some good ideas on the different options. And just a little thing here, I'm not really talking about leases too much. That those are an option of how you can finance your vehicle, not an option I recommend. And the way you would, how much lease you can afford would essentially be, it's kind of a different article I have written is what I'm essentially getting at here, which I will also include in the description below about what leasing a car is and everything, and why I don't recommend it. But okay, and to help you understand exactly how much car you can afford, here are a few examples using the recommendations I've just shown you above. Your yearly salary is $100,000. The max amount of car you can afford would be $25,000. Your yearly take-home pay would be, and we're just assuming some 30% tax here, so don't take this like you'll know what your tax is. But it's just, so you would say $70,000 is your take-home pay. Your monthly take-home pay would be, $5,833.33, and if you times that by 15% to get that 15% of your monthly income, you're going to be looking at $875 for your monthly payment. And I get that can sound really high. I've had a lot of people tell me that sounds like a very high number, and several people. And I get it. That's a big payment, especially for the price of the car and everything. But go for it. Like, seriously, go for it. You'll have this thing paid off quickly. Rather than taking, tons of time to pay it off, you'll save a lot of money in the long run too. And here's another example. And if you want to go to my website, of course, you can go ahead and take a look and try to, just use this as an example to help you do your own calculating for your own income. Okay, and my next recommendation here is to make sure you get a loan from a bank or a credit union. Definitely look at what kind of auto rates different banks and credit unions are offering. Usually you will find that these financial institutions have much better rates and terms than the dealership has. Often the dealership will try to entice you with their financing with a special promotion, but in reality there are many other fees and stipulations. And determine how long of a term and what interest rates you can get elsewhere before you go to the dealer. That way you can be sure you are getting the best deal no matter where you end up financing your vehicle. And for a short time I worked at a credit union, and I will say we usually offered significantly lower rates than the dealers would offer, especially if you have a good connection with a financial institution like a credit union or a bank, and you know them and you've worked with them, and and they're offering a fairly decent rate. Usually it's just better to go with them. Usually they're going to work with you more, and overall it just kind of works out better. So I definitely would recommend that. And then for the future, plan ahead for your car purchases. I'm not saying you didn't plan ahead now, but I'm saying basically just go ahead and try to save for the full amount of the car if you can in the future. And I understand sometimes surprises can happen, that you can use your emergency fund to help you pay for that new car, just so that you can get from point A to point B. But if you do know you'll need a new car in the next couple of years, go ahead and start putting some money away for that purchase. If you can try and save for the full amount, but if there's not enough room in your budget, then just save whatever you can, so that you can have a little bit of a down payment and maybe have a fairly small car purchase. Essentially, you wouldn't have to finance the full amount. So overall, the amount of car you can afford is going to vary significantly based on your income. The idea is that you don't take on more car than you can afford, and that the car you do get can be paid off quickly. Focusing on the sale price of the car rather than just the monthly payment will help you to buy a more affordable vehicle. Doing all this will get you to a place where you can enjoy your car and not let that car payment rule your life. So really, the main thing here is just focus on the actual price of the car, not the payment that you're going to be paying, and look for a good place like a bank or a credit union to get that loan. And then last but not least, make sure that you try to pay it off quickly, whether you follow that 15% rule that I mentioned here above or not. Just try to pay as much as you can every month on that thing, because it can, the quicker you get out of that debt, the easier and more peaceful your life's going to be. So I appreciate you all watching. And like I said, there will be some links in the description on this article and some other good articles for you guys to check out, as well as some other videos. So thanks, and I will see you guys in the next video.